What's up YouTube, Redbeard's Garage, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be making a Springer seat for the Coleman CT200U EX. So me and Lonnie rode the far out of this bike yesterday. It seems to be running pretty good. I just need to do that 60 tooth. It's actually 62 tooth, but we're going to be doing that today. And I'm also going to repurpose this bar that I cut off. This went around in front of the back tire and it held the chain guard. So I've got it all cleaned up and we're going to be welding it on about right in there. And what that's going to do is give us a spot to mount these shocks from Go Power Sports. And I'm using the 3-hole gussets as well to weld this to this pipe, and it's going to give us a Springer seat. We're also going to have to cut a piece of sheet metal to go under the seat to give us a good platform to mount the shock mounts on the seat side. So I'm going to get to welding all this, and we'll cut our tabs out for the top of this and get this all installed. I think it's going to ride 100 times better with that Springer seat. So I got those gussets all welded on there. Had to fill a pretty big gap on each side, but turned out pretty good. Now you can see the shock will set right down in there, and then I can make that plate that's going to ride under the seat and just make it more sturdy. You know, it's going to have shocks on it. This just has a plastic bottom, so I want to put a piece of sheet metal under the whole entire seat just to give it a good foundation. But these tabs will be gone. This is like a bolt-on little fixture that used to go down here, and you could adjust the seat forward. And it has like a standard dirt bike, has the 2 teeth. If you can see that, it's hard to get down there, but it has 2 teeth that go under a flat piece of steel. So what I'm going to do is put a hinge under this side so it'll all hinge forward. And I'll probably put a couple extra bolts in the seat. It only has 2 where this little flange is bolted up, but I'll show you that when I pull it all off and start cutting the metal. Those turned out pretty good, and we can move on to making the under seat mounts. So I pulled that seat off, and you can see there's the little tab that the forks go up under on the front of the seat, and that's a good spot so I can bolt my hinge to. Then if we go over to the seat, I've already unbolted this little bracket off. That's what fits the back of the seat still. And I'm going to take my little die grinder and I'm going to cut these forks off, because that plate of steel is going to go all the way up under this. And then, like I said, I can weld the hinge to the front of it and then bolt it to that right there. So when we want to pull it apart, we just take 2 nuts off and be able to pull this all off, and should work out pretty good. So this is where we haven't got the seat mounted down, but it's just sitting on some tabs. Basically, I need to round off the corners right here. The only thing I don't like, which I can do quite a bit of rounding off, but is how the tabs are going to stick out past the seat a little bit. And of course those sharp corners won't be there. I'll round all that off. But yeah, that's the look of it. You know, the mounts for the shocks are already pretty much welded as solid as they're going to get on the bottom there. And there's no way I could have moved the shocks in any. So that's kind of how I knew they was going to stick out a little bit like that. Maybe this is a better view. But, you know, I can cut off quite a bit of this, so it shouldn't, you know, hurt you when you're sitting on it or anything, and it'll all be rounded off. So Now I'm going to tack all this in place. I got the piece of metal under the seat. Actually, I'm going to pull that seat off and sand the paint a little bit, get the paint off. Then we can tack these spring hangers in place and pull it off and weld it on the workbench. And then we can figure out how we're going to mount the front of the seat up there, because the way this will be is, I'm thinking I have some really thick flat stock I could use instead of this, some like 1/4 inch thick stuff that I could put across, and basically there'll be 2 tabs welded onto the seat, and when you drop the seat down, those tabs will fall into holes I would drill in the flat stock, if that makes any sense. So the back isn't mounted down, so you could pull it off if you needed to. I don't know, I'm gonna see how I can do this for a minute and then continue on this little build. So I got the hangers all made for the shock mounts on the seat. You can see I put a bead on each side, 2 on each side, and then I've used the original threads that was in the seat and drilled holes in this metal plate so I could bolt this to it. Now I'm trying to find a way to affix the front of the seat and mount it solid to the back. So basically, if you ever wanted to take this seat off, you would have the 2 bolts that's on the springs, the 2 bolts and nuts, and then you'd have a bolt up here somewheres to, I'll have a little toolkit in this little toolbox where you can do this on the trail if you needed to. But the only thing that's going to be under here is the battery, and you shouldn't have to access it because you do have a pull start. And so even if your battery did die out there, your engine's still going to power your headlight and everything. So the seat's all done and ready to be put back on. I welded this little lightweight hinge on the front of it. I'm hoping it won't bend or anything, but I mean, with the shocks holding it at the back, I don't think there will be much pressure pulling back on this. Oh yeah, feels a lot better. I mean, you can definitely tell you're up higher, but it's pretty dang nice. I like it quite a bit. piece of chain because, of course, going to a bigger sprocket, we didn't have enough chain there. Once this is done, we can take it out and ride it. Remember, you can get these small shocks on GoPowersports.com. These things are actually really nice because I was worried they'd be either too weak or too stiff, but it seems like when I sit on them, you know, they do squish in just a tiny bit. They're still rigid enough, you know, the seat isn't really crazy weak. And you can adjust this collar right here and actually lower it all down. And I think you can also pre-tension the spring, make the spring stiffer with that as well. We may mess with that in a couple of days, but I'm pretty excited to see what this 60 is going to do. One dude said, a fat joke, who would have knew? Something about, I put a torque converter on this thing and it still won't pull me. And actually a few subscribers got a little heated about it, but I don't ever take that kind of stuff. You know, you just take it with a grain of salt. But, I mean, it was geared at a 5-to-1 ratio. That's kind of what I expected. Even with Lonnie being 100 pounds lighter than me, it still wasn't amazing with him on it because of that 5-to-1 ratio. So, this is a 6.2-to-1 ratio. Should be a big difference. So, we'll get this chain all cut and put on here. Alright. And remember, use the links in the description below and get you a chain brake. These things are super handy. They're really cheap. I think this one's around $10 to $15, and they are a lifesaver. So I'm gonna get this chain put on and we'll get this thing off a lift and take it for a rip. So I still got to tweak with the Mikuni that's on that bike because it really isn't opening up like it should on top end. We're going to mess with the jets a little bit. I'm just been waiting on some new jets to come in the mail. But Springer seat made a huge difference. Make sure to go Power Sports and check those springs out. Links will be in the description below, as well as those 3-hole gussets that we use to make spring hangers. Those gussets are a lifesaver in my garage. I keep a pile of them all the time because we use them on pretty much every one of our builds. So make sure to check the links out in the description below, and we're going to do a race around the yard. I know people's getting bored with the yard stuff, but we got a pretty good track made around this yard, and me and Lonnie's going to get on each of the Coleman mini bikes and rip around the yard in an upcoming Monday video. So look out for that, guys, and thank you for all your support. Redbeard's Garage is powered by GoPowersports.com. GoPowersports has a huge amount of awesome go-kart and mini bike parts, and when making your purchase, use the Redbeard discount code in the upper right-hand corner of your shopping cart to grab yourself a sweet deal. Help support our channel with some merch by going to rbgkarts.com. We have shirts, stickers, and hats, and we're adding new designs all the time. Hit that subscribe button and make sure the notification bell is on so you'll never miss another episode, and go check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Pinterest to stay up to date with the channel. Guys, always come back to Redbeard's Garage. I'm out.